r/AskReddit. Atheists of Reddit, what is one thing you admire about religion? Religious people of Reddit, what is one thing you admire about atheism? As an atheist, I admire the passion and effort that went into the great religious buildings of the world. Yep, as an atheist, I was really sad to see what happened to Notre Dame, and was super relieved when I heard the damage to the rose windows and the organ were minimal. The arts resulting from religion. This is a huge one. Also, the sheer preservation that came from it. People only learned to read so they could read the Bible, and since they were the only people who could read, they were the only people who could write, and so we have them to thank for a good amount of documented history from the Middle Ages. That and the music as well. Some of those songs are unbelievably beautiful when sung in the acoustics of a whole church. Former choir kid here. Some of the most gorgeous songs I have ever had the privilege to sing came from religion or religious stories. Here's Kasemi Splorit Filii Israel, Weep, Children of Israel, which is part of an oratorio about the story of this Old Testament dude named Jephthah. Edit. Former choir geek makes it sound like I don't still sing along to choir music in my car. Let's try Kiddlemau. As a Christian, I admire atheists' need for a logical explanation. As an atheist, I admire religious people's ability to have faith. I sometimes wonder what being able to have faith is like, as I'm a person that needs a logical explanation for everything. Faith brings people, or at least it seems like it does to me, great comfort and ease of mind. Having faith is essentially hope without regard for the outcome. A Christian mother and an atheist mother both desperately want their stillborn to be birthed alive. An atheist mother might hope that doctors got it wrong and the baby is, in fact, alive, while the Christian mother might have faith in God stepping in. Edit, words and stuff. I'm an atheist. I admire their sense of community. Atheist here, and I completely agree. I went with one of my friends to their all-black church when I was younger. There was a lot of emphasis on community projects discussed in their service, and we even took a break in the middle for everyone to converse with each other and catch up. I could tell this church was filled with good people. However, my grandmother's Assembly of God church was filled with a bunch of old racist people. So it definitely depends on the community. Grew up AG. Can confirm. The AG could put off anyone. There is an emphasis on feeling God and emotional release in the church that's unhealthy. I became Orthodox. I have no use for Neo-Pentecostalism. AG is what kicked my ass out of organized religion. There's an ongoing joke with the so that I grew up in a cult. Most of the time we're not joking. I grew up Apostolic Pentecostal, was definitely like living in a cult group. It is what turned me away from organized religion as well. Seriously though. Probably the whitest shit ever, but every year in high school my best friends and I would do a service trip to this church in Harlem during Palm Sunday weekend. It was already set up through the school. It started as us doing it as a requirement. We'd hold a food, clothing drive at school and then just spend the weekend fixing up the church/painting/cleaning the neighborhood. Then, they'd have this big Palm Sunday mass at the end of it. Holy shit, was it fun. They made us feel more welcomed and appreciated than any church ever did growing up. I went to a Catholic grade school, which sucked balls. Our first year there, and each year after, the priest stood us all upright before the sign of peace and welcomed us. It was really special. During the sign of peace, I'm used to quickly turning around and muttering peace be with you while half-acidly shaking a stranger's hand. This was so much different. I mean, everyone knows how awesome black churches can be, but I still love telling this story. Okay, so he just welcomed us. Then he says something to the effect of, "Let's show them how we show each other peace in here." What happens next makes this is the only story in my life where I can say, and then everyone clapped. Except they didn't just clap, they fucking started singing and everyone got out of their seats to go mingle with each other. I'm not even kidding when I say it seemed like everyone hugged. It was like the most wholesome party ever broke out in church, and it went on for a few minutes. Their sign of peace felt like such an expression of love. Then after Mass, they had a parade through the streets, and it was pretty much the same thing but outside. Fucking awesome. Anyway, that happened every year we went. Obviously, none of the clapping, dancing was for us, it's like that every day there. But the fact that the priest and community made such an effort to welcome us so loudly was amazing. I really miss it. I'm an atheist and my grandma was extremely religious. My uncle, her son, died a few years ago and it about killed her. She ended up getting diagnosed with leukemia and given a slim chance to survive. She was 100% fine with it because in her mind she was going to see her son and sisters in heaven. I wish I could have that. The only time my lack of religion has bothered me is when my mum died. Suddenly I was jealous of those people who believe in an afterlife where they will see their loved ones again. I didn't have that luxury. And it was painful. I tried to not think of someone being gone. Both sets of my grandparents are getting on in years, and it would not be out of the question for any of them to pass away in the next few years. I try to think of their living legacy, their descendants. They're never truly gone if they've left behind children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. If they didn't leave behind biological descendants, then there are people that they've impacted in some way at some point. I don't hope that my family gets into heaven, I hope to see their descendants succeed and be good people. I don't hope to get into heaven one day, I hope to create a positive impact with own life, and to leave a legacy that will do the same. Sorry if this is a mess, I've never tried to articulate this before, and I'm on mobile. I hope the same for myself and my loved ones. I hope to make this world a better place than when I came into it, and I think everyone should. I also hope when people die they get to go to heaven or at least a place like it. Or at the very least, don't have to go to hell. I mean, there are some bad people, but who really deserves to be tortured forever? As an atheist, I admire that religion can provide a source of strength, community, and hope for people. Through religion, people find the courage and hope to continue a mundane or excessively taxing existence. People also develop lifelong friendships and support communities through church groups and other religious organizations. I believe these aspects are important to have in one's life. If religion can provide that for some people, then I think that's a great thing. That's the reason my aunt, who was a lifelong atheist, joined a church in her later years. She had moved to a small town, and even though I recall she had always been an atheist during my growing up years, she joined a church in that town. She never mentioned her atheism, and I suppose they never asked. I suppose they simply assumed she believed. I think she joined purely for pragmatic, mental and emotional health, and social safety reasons. And by all accounts, it was extremely good for her on all those fronts. Most churches I've been to don't care what you believe in, or mostly how you live your life. The thing is, if we say you can't come to church, then there go our chances of convincing you. That's why I won't go to a church with a no, insert lifestyle here, rule. I appreciate atheists' willingness to ask questions and work through the things that challenge them about faith. I'm a believer, so obviously, we don't come to the same conclusions, but I think too many of my brothers and sisters bury the stuff about their faith that they struggle with. That can both hurt their walk and make them come off as sanctimonious. I say that because that was me, once upon a time. Some days, it still is. It's a work in progress. Matthew 7:7 says, "Ask, and it will be given to you, seek, and you will find, knock, and it will be opened to you." Too often believers don't want to ask tough questions, but I think it's important to do so. If the Christian God is who he claims to be, I have to imagine he can handle honest questions from someone seeking to understand. The world needs more religious people like you. Coming from an atheist, I remember in childhood we would go to church once a week with the whole class. Our teacher was very religious, so she would read the Bible to us. I remember I once asked the mom questions I had, the things that make no sense. My mom tried to answer all my questions at first, but then told me that religion is all about belief. The first step to my atheism: you can't just ask me to believe in something without making it at least sound plausible. If I had to continue being religious, I will have to close my eyes on things I don't understand. This is against my mindset. I think it is also what I appreciate about religious people. They don't need to close eyes, they just believe it by heart. The ability I just never had.